Hey guys, Alex Hoskins here with you, and I'm here with Giorgio Cleanez. We are going to be throwing Origin EX versus Origin today. Gio, I know you're a big fan of these balls. Have you used those quite a bit in competition so far?
I haven't gotten to throw the Origin EX yet, but the Origin definitely.
So this will be a good video to compare the two, and we're going to do some different surface changes for you. So the first thing that we're going to do is throw these at the out-of-box finish. So we're going to kind of establish a baseline of what they come out of the box like. And then we're going to do some surface changes, polish both of them and sand both of them, see what kind of differences we see based on some chemical and mechanical friction that we've built into these cover stocks. We're in a unique position here because we can get everything exactly the same.
Yep.
These two balls have the same exact weight block. You've laid these out with the exact same layout.
Yep.
We're putting out a fresh 46-foot pattern to be able to see the differences in these, and we're really going to see what differences that we can create out of both that RB89 cover stock and the RB93 cover stock.
Yeah.
So let's see what differences we see on the
Let's
lanes
do it.
here.
Let's do this. So first Origin EX.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2000 out of the surface. This is fresh, you said, 46. I'm just trying to guess here. I like it. I really like it.
All right, so out-of-box finish Origin EX, what are you thinking initially? What are you seeing?
I see that as much as it has surface, it is not something that hooks super early. It stays in line quite a good amount. So I don't know, that's what I see so far.
So cleaner even though it has surface. So now think about that. There's two different kinds of friction, chemical and mechanical friction. We'll talk about it a little bit more here in a bit, but this Origin EX cover actually has a little bit more Steve screwed me up. Sorry. So you said you feel like this is a little bit cleaner, and this brand new RB89 cover does have a lot less chemical friction, okay? So now friction kind of breaks down into two categories. It can be mechanical friction or chemical friction. Mechanical friction is straight the surface on the bowling ball. So even though this has some surface on it, with less chemical friction, it still feels pretty easy to get through the lane, more than you would expect for a sanded ball.
100%.
Right? So that lets it kind of stay on line, lets you stay in the same place a little bit longer too. There's kind of some benefits to that. So now let's switch over to the regular Origin, which is RB93. That's a much stronger cover, much more chemical friction, but now we have it at the out-of-box finish, polished, so much less mechanical friction. I'm gonna run the lanes again because we know you kind of broke the lane down a little bit with this. Let's see this on a very fair comparison. Remember, same weight block, same layout, everything. We're gonna re-oil the lanes, make sure that we have the same amount of oil on there, and let's see what differences that we see out of Origin compared to Origin EX.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're on fresh again. Just by guess, I'm gonna start probably 2 on 1 right, 2 and 2 right, around there, comparing to the Origin EX. Since this is polished, it should be a little cleaner in there.
Now you've thrown both balls a little bit. What differences did you kind of see through those shot sequences?
Well, it was very interesting to me that when I started, I felt like I had to start a little further right, but it felt like the pattern broke down faster, so that it forced me left, even farther left than the Origin EX, by the end of the shots.
And I think that can be kind of confusing to people sometimes, right? Because, hey, Origin has a little bit less surface on it. It's polished versus a sanded ball. But I think what you're describing there really shows you the difference between these two balls on that chemical side of friction.
Coverstock
This
itself
has such a stronger chemical friction to it. It really wants to break the lane down, even though it doesn't have as much surface on it. So you felt like you naturally had to kind of move left a little bit more because it blew the lane apart a lot more. Where this one, you're able to stay in the
there
same
longer.
spot a little bit longer.
Yep.
Exactly. So these are at the box finish, right? So now let's actually let's polish both of these and see what happens when we now level the playing field on that mechanical friction side of things. Both balls polished, rerun the lanes again, see if you kind of feel like those differences are the same, maybe the balls come together a little bit more, or maybe they spread out a little bit more. Let's polish them both and see what happens. We have the same mechanical friction on both of these balls, the same surface. Any differences that we see between these are going to be strictly what it's made out of, that chemical friction. So this Origin EX has a much lower chemical friction, so that's why you're feeling like it gets further down the lane, right? It's a little easier to get through the front of the lane.
100%.
So let's have you throw Origin in the same spot. We'll kind of see what happens there, and then you'll actually probably have to make a little bit of a move because we know this has a lot more chemical friction in it, so it's going to want to stick to that lane a little bit more and create more friction even at the same surface there.
Okay, so you want me to stay the same?
Stay the same to start, and then let's see what happens if you have to move a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that for sure, that one hooked more.
So
they grabbed more.
More difference, right? It wants to see that lane more. Now that's crazy, right? Same surface finish there, same mechanical friction.
Same core.
But a lot more chemical friction out of the Origin there. So it's gonna wanna, like I say, stick to that lane a little bit more. You kind of got forced a little bit further left. And you can really see why we chose, a 2000 surface finish on that Origin EX. That you can see with the polish, maybe if there was enough friction, enough lines down the lane, you could get it to kind of see the lane the right way, but it was kind of pushing too far down the lane.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So let's actually sand both of these now. Let's get both of them to a little bit more rougher surface finish and see what happens once we take that polish off of them, see what kind of moves you have to make. We're also going to oil back to the fresh again because you probably don't want a few lines down the lane and then let's sand some balls and throw them in the same spot. So we'll oil again, sand both balls, and let's see what differences you see now that we have no polish on the balls.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna move a bit farther left than when this one was polished. So I was standing, when it was polished, I was standing around 26, 27. Now I'm gonna be 28 and go through 18, 19.
Okay, so even with surface, you kind of hinted to this earlier, right? You still feel like it's pretty clean, right?
Yeah, it's surprising that even though it has 2000, the ball likes to stay in line. It doesn't really force me left as quick, I would say.
And we talked about that balancing that chemical and mechanical friction, even though that has some surface on it and it comes out of the box with surface. Just because it has surface doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hook really early on the lane. We can change how much chemical friction there is in that cover to kind of delay that hook a little bit longer and make it smoother off the end of the pattern, which can be really beneficial in certain times, right? Lane panels aren't getting any newer, right?
Exactly. And there's so much friction that it feels that this type of bowling balls, they can be good because it's gonna flow through all that early friction that makes the ball get offline quick.
And we know the more people that bowl, the more shots go down the lane, what happens? Pattern breaks down, and we need something that we can kind of stay in our comfort zone maybe a little bit longer and still give us a good, predictable, smooth overall shape. So let's re-oil the lanes again here. We're going to use the Origin here with surface on it, so this is not how it comes out of the box, and we'll see what adding some surface to the regular Origin does back on the fresh here.
Okay, let's do it. I'm going to move 4 and 2, that where I was staying. standing at with the Origin EX, and we'll see from there. So Origin EX, I was on 28, so 32, 31, maybe, yeah, 32 sounds about right. Well, that definitely grabs the lane.
You can see two things, right? That one doesn't want to get down the lane nearly as far,
Yeah.
and it wants to get offline a lot faster
Yeah,
as well.
with the same surface, it feels that that one stays in line a little fast, like longer, while that one is forcing me left quick.
And I think that's kind of the magic of these two balls, right? You have the same,
Yeah.
remember, same part,
Yeah.
same layout. You're changing that Coverstock friction on there. You've got that RB89 versus the RB93 going to that more mellow cover. Think about it. It's like the tire touching the road, right? We can change the tread, which would be like the surface, but we can also change what that tire is made out of to change the performance of that as well.
Yeah. What it was very surprising to me is that I moved 4 and 2 at the beginning, right? And end up way farther left. It forced me left because it feels that the ball gets offline quick. It doesn't stay in line as long. It wants to grab the lane so much that it forces me left. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think you have both things working for you there, right? Both the chemical and the mechanical friction is causing you to kind of move that direction. And keep in mind, this is at that surfaced finish. So this comes out of the box polished. There's a reason, you know, all those balls go through a testing process and we kind of decide what's going to be the best for the general public. But right, you can't be afraid to change the surface of your ball. How often are you changing the surface when you're bowling?
Every time.
All the time,
all the
right?
time.
People think it needs to be one surface. So you can see how this Origin EX is going to be hugely beneficial when you really need to kind of stay in a spot, maybe even get back onto some of that friction, where if you need to really get left and throw it right, Origin is going to be kind of the better option.
Definitely. If I need something to slow down early, that's the one.
Yeah, you have no concern
problem
of that one getting offline on it.
Yep.
All right, guys, hopefully you learned something today about the Coverstock and the chemistry, how we're able to change not only that surface on the ball, but what that bowling ball is made out of to create some differences on the lanes. Origin EX is going to be a really great ball. Stop in at your local Storm VIP Pro Shop and pick one up. Bowl up a Storm.